Women of Power podcast is a platform for passionate and influential women who are catalysts for change, pioneers in their fields, the change makers, the trailblazers, performers and influencers, driven entrepreneurs and professionals. They play a vital role in driving economic growth and bridging the talent shortages across organizations of various scales. Building cause-based businesses to create positive impact in their communities and towards sustainable goals for the people, planet, and prosperity. In every industry, women are shattering barriers and strive to create a space where they can exhibit their achievements and motivate other women to unleash their limitless potential. We encourage collaboration, networking, and knowledge sharing among women. Let's inspire and learn from one another while sharing our valuable experiences. Thank you for joining us and listening to this episode. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of Women of Power podcast. Is a platform for a passionate and influential women who are catalysts of change, pioneers of their field, the change makers, the trailblazers, performers and influencers, and driven entrepreneurs and professionals. They play a vital role in driving economic growth and bridging talent shortages across the organization of various scales. Building causes businesses to create positive impact in their communities and towards sustainable goals for people, planet, and prosperity. Women of Power is a dynamic platform that recognizes the incredible potential of women as a driving force and the global economic growth. It is a platform that celebrates and empowers women of passion and power. I am host Ritu Chopra, and I am always pleased to have my guests present their stories, their journeys, their successes, their histories of overcoming challenges, and much more. Today, I have an outstanding entrepreneur, author, change maker, and I can't wait to hear her story. Well, I have shared her story. Erin, who is for the last 30 years has been a global leading transformational life coach and business strategist, an award-winning speaker, and a multiple number one best-selling author. She has written children's books and more, and she'll have a chance to ask her questions and talk about her books. She's host of a streaming Life on Track TV show, inspiring viewers worldwide. For decades, the audience and clients have enjoyed Erin's warmth and wisdom, inspired by her transformational power. Can't wait to hear that. They call her a miracle maker, a cancer survivor at the age of 25, happily unstuck. I emphasize unstuck, single mom of three at the age of 47, a successful entrepreneur at age 50, a serial manifester when it matters most. Erin has shown millions of individual and business teams worldwide how to become victorious by being focused, fearless, and excited about life, personally and professionally. Let's hear more from Erin herself. Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ritu. Thank you so much for having me. This is a blessing. What a great opportunity. Thank you.
I admire your strength. You not just the strength, the poise, the humility, the balance that you present everything that you do. I can't wait to hear. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about Erin.
Oh, thank you, Ritu. Well, where do you want me to start? You want me to go back to when I got into personal development?
Um,
When
it's your story. You
okay,
tell
okay,
us.
okay. So way back when, in 1991, I was diagnosed with cancer, and before that, I was working on Wall Street as a stockbroker, and I was very superficial. I loved my house out in the Hamptons, my Chanel bag, and I didn't know anything about the inner world. Everything was outer world based. What people thought of me mattered big time. So the outer world was going to tell me how smart I was, how pretty I was, how successful I was going to be. Like I didn't know anything about being a conscious creator back then. And then one of the biggest blessings, ironically, showed up as cancer in my life. And it was a very rare pediatric lethal. It was non-Hodgkin's lymphoblastic lymphoma. And very few people lived of that protocol back in 1991. It was a 2.5 year egregious, crazy protocol. But it gave me the time, I needed the 2.5 years to really get back to who I was, to get centered again, to become aligned with who I am, and I just started reading the personal development books, and then I couldn't get enough of them. I craved them from the hospital bed because I was like, I could do this, I can visualize, I can meditate. I'm like reading these books, and it opened up a whole world inside of me, that led me down this journey. So I literally kept, long story short, I kept living every time the doctor said I die. They'd come in crying, telling me, I had a white blood count of 0 from around the clock chemo, an infection they couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And after 7 blood transfusions and crazy antibiotics, they came in crying, a team of doctors and nurses that telling me that I was going to die. And I was like, get out of my room. I was 25 years old and a little bit of a spitfire and a little naive. But I was like, get out of my room. You didn't tell me about what I could do for myself. I'm reading these books now, and I know there's a lot that I could do for myself. Like, you did your best, and I appreciate it, but you got to get out of my room. And they called my parents to come say goodbye. They left the room crying, thinking I was crazy. And they called my parents to come say goodbye. But I lived. I walked out of the hospital 2.5 weeks later, and they were shocked. They were shocked. I just needed a white blood count of 1. So it went from 0 to 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and I had very little strength. The book Creative Visualization was on the floor, and I bent down to pick it up, and it was like lifting a car. Like I had very little strength, but I knew I had to keep reading that book and visualizing myself healthy and happy and out of the hospital and doing the things I always wanted to do. And that's how I started coaching in the 90s, because the doctors at Sloan Kettering started having their patients call me at home because they couldn't figure out what I was doing. So, I went on to have 3 kids that they swore would never happen. And that's how I became a life coach at 25. And I'm now 58, and I would never stop. I would never retire. I love, love, love being a life coach and business strategist. It's fun.
I can I can only imagine how it would have been being in that hospital room. And we put so much faith in doctors and
Right.
care providers to give us that hope. And when
Right.
I tell you, and your family members to say goodbye, I really don't know how to even comprehend that feeling. Um,
Right. It's shocking and disappointing. And, you know, and we're going to get into the self-doubt and everything in a little while, but you have to have confidence in yourself. You have to go really deep within and tune out the noise from the outer world, tune it all out, the naysayers, and, because miracles are normal. That's why they call me the miracle maker. The doctors started calling me the miracle maker, and multiple doctors at Sloan started having their patients call me at home. I did it for free for years, because I was on fire to empower cancer patients. They
mm,
weren't talking about what I did. Nobody was, if you talked about meditation and visualization and affirmations and all that back in 1991 to 93, they thought you were crazy. They thought you were like a hippie. They really, like, you couldn't talk about it. People would be like, oh, like they weren't open to it. But the cancer patients that I spoke to, they were open to it, and I did it for free for years. And then I called the doctors and I said, I can't keep doing it because I'm letting my kids, 3 miracle kids, spill Cheerios on the floor, putting them in front of Blue's Clues. And they were like, you can't stop. You're an amazing life coach. And I was like, what's a life coach? I was just helping these people. And they said, everything that you've been doing. You've been a life coach. I was coaching patients in the treatment center when I was going. I was coaching them in the waiting room and their families. I was literally doing group coaching before it was vogue to call it group coaching on just extensions in people's houses. You know, the family members would get on the remember extensions? Every room had a phone and people would just be able to listen to everybody's conversation. So I would coach the whole family. So they said I couldn't stop because I was an amazing life coach. And then when they explained that I could do it for a living, I was like, I could make money doing this. I could help people and get paid for it. Like, that's amazing. And it's the best job. It's the best. Oh, I love it.
Yes, making an impact on other people's life when they need
Yes.
someone like you or a coach most. I want to just get back to the doctor's conversation a little bit. Back in 90s, I can understand that it wasn't open in the medical field to believe in anything other than the medicine or treatment plans, etc. But that's how the medical industry was, right? Even though I am not trying to um, uh, criticize here anything,
No.
I personally, it's my own thought process is that doctors do the best what they
Yes. Yes.
right, what they know, what they can do. However, we have put too much faith in medical industries or doctors um, that they are not saviors. They are the best professionals, but if we don't have confidence, you talked about fear, you talked about a few other things, the miracles do happen.
Yeah.
And somehow the self-belief is a key. Um, of course, good habits, healthy eating habits, and everything that a professional would recommend that you need to do. I had interviewed for my show way back on my TV show a doctor who had written some books. 58 years in his practice. When he retired, he wrote few books. In one of the book, he had called it 23 and a half stories. These were near-death patients
Right.
of his own patients who, by outside of either the spirituality, visualization, and power of belief, they
Yeah.
had turned around, of course, diet, they had turned around their lives from the trajectory of death to living.
Yeah.
Amazing stories, and I want to wrap up that part of the other book, 23 and a half. It was amazing, and he said that I didn't want to finish at 24. So because there would be so many miraculous stories around the world, so
Yeah.
that is a patience. In and there are so often stories of miracles, like you became a miracle maker. There are many other professionals, doctors, healthcare providers have witnessed themselves. So let's come back to you now.
Yeah, I love that though, Ritu. I love that. I interviewed a
Oh.
gentleman named Dr. Bernie Siegel
Uh-huh.
years ago. I mean, like back in 2010, I first interviewed him when I was doing Blog Talk Radio. And then again, when I did a summit in 2016 or 2017. And he's the one that pioneered the spirituality, and that he was treating cancer patients as a medical doctor, but he tapped into spirituality and being a conscious creator, and he started teaching this to his patients, and he almost got laughed out of the medical community back then. And this was in the 70s. And they tried everything to run him out of the medical community. I mean, they just bashed this poor man over and over, and he never quit. And he always persisted, and he kept publishing the papers and publishing the papers. And then the doctors had to accept it because they kept seeing these people live. People that they thought, that they were going to die, they kept seeing them live. So it's so powerful. And society will never teach you these things, because once you tap into what you and I are talking about, then you can't be controlled. You know what I mean? And when you're empowered, when you empower yourself and you turn that on, that inner power that we have, that we all have, we're born with it. Everybody has that gift. When you turn it on, society can't control you anymore.
No,
It's all about the mind, what you are allowing to go. The thoughts create things, literally, good or bad. So whatever we're thinking about is what we're creating. I tell my kids all the time, they're 21, 22, and 26 now. And I always say, what you think about, you bring about. So guard your thoughts carefully, because what you're thinking and what you're speaking is what you are literally creating. So
that's creating your
stay,
work. Yes.
yeah,
So the power of thought. I'm going to come back to lots of questions to ask, but that's the journey that you have
right,
uh, that changes the trajectory of your life and
big time.
self belief, and you coming out of that. I'm looking back. I'm sure that you wondered, how did this happen? But there's some higher power that gives you that strength. And if you have that belief in that strength, you can make miracles.
Yes,
Miracles are possible. I'm a strong believer of that you create your own miracles because you
yeah,
create those thoughts and they will. And if you don't have the belief, miracles may be happening in front of you could still doubt them,
right.
which very much ties about that we talked about, and then you teach. So let me ask you a couple of questions, and I will kind of proceed. And I'm sure our audience would be interested in how you turn around millions of lives. So you talked about having a vision for your life personally and professionally, and making committed decisions.
Yes.
Let's
Yeah.
talk.
Oh, it's so important. It's my whole thing. I'm all about vision and decision, because I learned in the hospital bed back in 1991, when I was learning about all this stuff. Even in the Bible, it says those without a vision shall perish. Like, if you don't have a crystal clear vision of exactly what you want, then life is driving you and you're not in the driver's seat of your own life. You got to write it down. There's a whole psychology, pen to paper, not just typing it on the keyboard or on your phone, literally, physically, pen to paper. There's a whole psychology, because you're using vision and kinesiology and all these different things to reinforce it in your subconscious mind. So having a crystal clear vision, then your subconscious mind will know where you want to be, right? So the subconscious mind's job is to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. If the subconscious mind has no clue where you want to be, and you're not letting God know, the universe know it, like nobody knows where you want to go, then you're going to get these random things, and then you're going to go, oh my God, life sucks. Life is it's bouncing me all over the place. It's not fair. But when you can rein it all in and you write down that vision, that's what I did in the hospital bed. I said to myself, where do you want to be, Erin, in 2.5 years when the protocol is over? They could see you all over the place, but where do you want to be? I mean, I would ask myself questions, because you have a higher self, like your soul. And I just wrote down exactly where I wanted to be. And I was able to check everything off, get married, have kids, have a house with a master suite, which I dormered. I've been in this house for 26 years and I dormered the master suite. It was on my vision board. But if you don't have a vision, it's going to be a bumpy ride. And that's why it's one of the first things that I do with my clients. Like, if they don't know where they want to be, they don't know where they want to go, I help them get clear on something. You got to start somewhere. Okay, it's like this. I was driving to the bank one day, right? And I'm, daydreaming, because I'm about to go to Arizona to speak on stage, part of Eric's group, with Mark Victor Hansen and Sharon Lechter and a whole bunch of amazing people that's in our masterminds. And I thank God that Eric Swanson connected us, because I love you so much. And so I'm driving to the bank and I don't even remember the ride, because I was daydreaming. I was daydreaming, so I wasn't conscious. So I'm just, I get there and I was like, wow, that was fast. I can't believe I just drove all this way and I barely remember it. And then I thought, what a great metaphor for the subconscious mind. People get so caught up in the how, how they're going to get there, how they're going to make it happen, how they're going to get well, how they're going to get wealthy, how they're going to, and you don't want to get caught up in the how. You want to know where you want to go, because it's your subconscious's mind's job to bridge that gap. Just like, my subconscious mind got me to the bank. It knew where I wanted to go. So I've left the driveway and gone that way 1,000 times. It knew, all right, just do that route. And that's, without a vision, you have nowhere to go. Nowhere to go.
Yes. And it's going to be hard for a lot of people out there. My intention here, I'm going to ask you a question here, is to help, not for any kind of, like you said, how you're going to do it, not any kind of doubt.
Right.
There's a lot of people out there right now. We are living in a fragile world.
Yes.
There's a lot of people out there didn't have these stable homes, or a lot of struggle, upbringings, etc. And don't you think, would it be harder for them to have that kind of belief system in place? So say, believe in yourself. What would you suggest, that you have handled so many patients, their
Yes.
in hospitals, and millions of people over the years?
Yeah.
What would you suggest that people who are going through a tough circumstances, a tough stage, rough ride, however
Right.
we say it, right now, how to find that self-belief or vision? What would you say?
I would say we get in our own way. I've had clients, and even me myself, I've run the gamut with regard to health and wealth. So what I would say to people that are struggling, and that come from difficult childhoods and backgrounds and different things, every single person on this planet is not dealt the cards that they have in their environment right now. It's not a lifelong sentence, and anybody and everybody can change their circumstances and their results based on doing the inner work, based on guarding their thoughts carefully, staying focused on what you do have as opposed to what you don't have. I'll share another personal story with you. I went through a divorce a couple of years ago, and I was shocked and devastated and heartbroken. Everybody was shocked, because I was with him for 22 years and I didn't expect any of what happened to happen. And it threw me back on my heels, and I stopped my business to focus on the kids. And my sister was also diagnosed with cancer at the same time, and I became the point of contact. So I was showing up to court devastated. I'm showing up to the hospital for my sister devastated, and she has 4 young kids, and my 3 kids were going through a lot because of the divorce. And the child support stopped coming. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking, because I had to take him back to court, and he had to pay it anyway. But when I had $5 in my pocket and prayed that it was going to be enough for the milk and bread for my kids, forget me eating. I was just like, just let me make sure that my kids have what they need. I put my nose down and I said, Erin, you got to do what you did with the cancer. And I got back out there, started networking from nothing. I used to show up networking going, I haven't done this since the 90s, or the 80s, really. And the late 80s. And I said, I don't know how to say what I do in 30 seconds, because I had already written 3 books at that point. Yeah, 3. And now I have I'm going to have 25 best-selling books out by the end of this year. But back then, the divorce was final in 2016. I put my nose down and I grew my business. But the key is you got to keep showing up in life. If you want to change your results, you have to, okay, everybody write this down. You can never outperform your self-image. You can never outperform your self-image. Self-image is everything, and it's different than self-confidence. Self-image is how you see yourself. Confidence is how you feel about yourself, right? So you got to work on how you see yourself in order to grow how you feel about yourself, and that's how anybody, no matter what your circumstances are, if you're a human being with a pulse, no matter where you're at right now, you can change your results by doing the personal development work within you, having the confidence that you can get it done, because you can. You'll have a lot of naysayers, I remember my friends and family meant well. Some would say, Erin, you got to get a job. I was like, I was 50 years old. I'm 58 now. And when they would say, get a job, I'm like, when am I going to get a job and make like $70,000 a year? Like I'll lose everything, or 50, whatever I make, going back into the workforce. Cause I always had my own business after the cancer. And so they would, like they would say it, and I had to just whoever is going to naysay you or try to have you fit their mold, you got to tune out the noise. Going back to that again, you got to tune out the outer world, tune out the noise, and grow your life. And if you want to grow a business, grow your business. I've helped so many people grow their businesses from nothing, and they had so much self-doubt in the beginning. And I had a guy who flew into my event. I had my own Life on Track event, my own stage that I developed in 2022, October of 2022. And this one client that I have, he was laid off from the credit union. I have permission to tell this story because he was telling it on my stage. And he was laid off from the credit union with a mortgage and a family with kids and everything, 4 kids, and devastated and had zero self-confidence in himself. And so I told him, I said, you can make, I asked him how much he wanted to make, and he said 7,000. He's a financial advisor he was working for banks. And I was like, oh my God, you can make so much more than $7,000 in a month. But he didn't, that was the most he ever made. So his self-image was at 7,000 a month. I had to help him grow his self-image so he can grow his wealth. And we did. So we worked on his self-confidence, his self-image, and got rid of the self-doubt and the fear. And then he started with like 2,000 a month, then 5,000 a month, his own business, then 10,000 a month, then 20,000 a month, and 30,000 a month. And within 2 years, August, September, October, 2 months before my event, he had his first $85,000 a month. Wow. And from nothing. And he just thought 7,000 a month was going to be fabulous. And I was like, you can do so much better.
This is amazing. You said something, and I want to have you go in a little bit detail, the significance of self-image.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he can't outperform it. So it's like the ocean trying to go into a wine bottle. It just can't, So if your self-image is stuck at $7,000, you need to do the meditation and the visualizations as if, you know what I mean? Like as if you're already making $1 million, I remember interviewing James Dentley years ago. I love him. And he was telling a story about how he told his friends in his 30s that he had an idea and it was going to make him $1 million. And he's like, you know what my friend said to me, Erin? I said, what? He said, his friend said, why just one? And he never let himself think that small again. And he's gone on to make millions and millions, and if you have a block, like I had a block as a single mom to $1 million, 6 figures easy with my eyes closed, but once somebody said million, I was like, whoa, I'm a single mom. There's a lot of work that's got to go into that. I can't even imagine. And it was for the men in my world. I grew up in a wealthy area, and the men were the ones cranking out the millions, and I didn't see the women doing that. So my self-image was stuck at 6 figures. I was not open, and I didn't even know it until the words were coming out of my mouth. So listen to yourself when you're speaking. If you're making excuses for your life, you want to stop doing that, because people make excuses and they stand behind their excuses and they blame this one and that one, everything, when you can be the conscious creator of your own life. So I did meditations on millionaire mindset and billionaire mindset. And within the first 17 seconds of waking up, that's when your brain is in theta, and it's a great time to meditate. And before I knew it, I had a friend reach out to me with an invention idea. And now we got one of the patents that were pending. We now have one of the patents, and there's a few more. We're building a patent portfolio that's going to be worth many, many millions, but I had to break that down. Go ahead.
Those are amazing stories. I know. I have more questions to ask, so I want to just continue for the audience to benefit from your knowledge and experience. You and I belong to other groups where we had this conversation, significance of gratitude.
Yes.
Share your thoughts.
It's everything. It's everything. When you're grateful and you put out to the universe, you put out to God, that you're grateful, even if it's for a little bit. When I had the $5 in my pocket, hoping it was going to be enough for the milk and bread, and I didn't have any idea of how I was going to get the money to come in. I mean, I look back and I'm like, it's just amazing to me on how everything just worked out. I paid everything. It's just amazing to me, but amazing in such a grateful way, But when I had nothing, I remember like the kids or I would drop change on the carpet on the stairs going up to the bedrooms on the second floor, and I would pick up a nickel and be like, "Thank you, God. I'm so happy. I'm 5 cents richer right now." And I meant it because I knew it was a sign. Okay, thank you. Drop a dime. Thank you so much. Grateful for the every little thing that I had. Every little thing. I focused on what I did have as opposed to what
Yeah.
I didn't have. And that's the key. Be grateful for what you have. If you're looking in the driveway or the garage and you're just seeing the car that's not there that you want, it's never going to get there. Be grateful for what you have with the goal of getting, the car, because the car is right there, whatever car everything we want is right there. It's just a veil away. And when you're living in gratitude and you're just lit up in the morning, and you have to do that for yourself, you can't count on your spouse or your parents or your children to make you happy. That's called codependent. It's your job to make yourself happy. It's the other person's job to make themselves happy. And then you bring 100 to the table. And our job is to enhance other relationships, to enhance their lives. But gratitude is the only way to bridge the gap between fear and love. And fear is anything negative: regret, remorse, shame, guilt, anger, depression. It's all fear based, and love is anything positive: enthusiasm, optimism, wealth, hope, faith, like all these things that's under the category of love. And when people say money's the root of all evil, or bad people are the ones with all the money, no.
No.
The way you have the relationship you have with the way you treat money is the way money's going to treat you. Go ahead.
Money is not evil. How you utilize money
When
is
you
you make
Right.
decisions.
When you put money ahead of people, that's greed. And that's the root of all evil, is the greed. People first, always people first. Building relationships are always first,
Mhm.
and then money's just an exchange of energy. And utilize it, put it to work, in
Excellent.
investments or spending it. Go ahead.
Excellent. You said money is a form of energy. So
Yeah.
even if you have to do good deeds, you need money. So
Right.
money cannot
Right.
be evil, right?
Right.
Use
Right.
this. I want to ask you something you had touched earlier. The self doubt, the fears and self doubt is so prominent among people. It's so prevalent thought. Not only the noise, access of information, access of a wrong information, that we're living in a information loaded world. Um, how would you suggest people to settle themselves and get rid of the self doubt?
I love this question. Self-doubt is a dream crusher. I really view self-doubt as evil, because people can want to do the most amazing things, helping people in the most amazing ways. And then they talk themselves out of it because they think they're not good enough. They're not smart enough. They're not worthy. Like all of this self-doubt creeps up. A friend of ours, Sharon Lecter, wrote a book called Outwitting the Devil. And it's an interview between Napoleon Hill and the devil. Now, the devil could just be the fear up in our minds. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be this red thing in hell with burning and a pitchfork. But the conversation between Napoleon Hill and the devil was fascinating. And it's just fear. So self-doubt is just fear. And when you break down fear, because we weren't born into this world with fear, it was a learned, I don't even know what to call it. People call it a learned skill. I'm like, I mean, like if it's going to save your life kind of a thing, like a tiger is chasing you, then yeah, activate it. But I never say never, most of the time I don't go into fear. I stay solution oriented. Another great one liner that I learned from Sharon is worrying is just a prayer for what we do not want. I love that. Worrying is just a prayer for what we do not want, because whatever we're thinking about in the present moment and how we're feeling when you emotionalize that thought, then it's on steroids. That's what you're attracting to you, the people, places, and things to make that a reality. So if you're in worry, you're just basically launching a rocket of desire of worry to give you more things to worry about, So self-doubt is literally a dream crusher, and it's just you against you. Once people realize it's just they're fighting themselves, if they're entertaining the thoughts of others that were naysayers, and people that are just full of ridicule and judgment. And listen, if you want to judge and gossip, don't come near me. That is so low vibe, and you can't pay attention. Another great book is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel
Oh,
Ruiz.
yes, I have it right here on my bookshelf in front of me. I love that book.
I love it.
After you talk about, I know the outwinning the devil and stuff. So what there's just like so much knowledge out there, the positive knowledge, and shut the naysayers and the negative information that society overloads. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
you know, about worry, I remembered a quote that I heard, and I never forgot this. The worry is like in a rocking chair. It keeps you busy, it keeps you moving, but it doesn't take you anywhere.
And you going nowhere, right? I like that. That's great.
So it's like as
That's great.
simple as it could be, but it's like, yes, that's true. I am very fond of quotes. As a young child, I have a very fond story of it. I used to write in the diary my dad gave me. I used to write golden pearls of wisdom or something that they were on a Sunday's paper in a kids section, children's section. And fast forward at a very devastating stage in my life, those quotes were my best friends.
Yes. Yes.
One of them, three that I live by, where there is a will, there is a way. Seek and you shall find, and no pain, no gain. Those were like so much like source of my inspiration on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like you said, earlier, that visualization, mine was where there is a will, there is a way.
Yes. And this too shall pass.
Yes. And then other one, seek and you shall find. I had many different stages of my life that I pondered over it, and I observed things happening outside and external worlds and things, among other people and in my life as well. As you analyze it as simple words they are, seek and you shall find. Whatever you are seeking, that's what you get. If you're
Yeah.
seeking goodness in other people, that's what you will find. If you're seeking fault in others, that's what you would see. So be very mindful of what you are seeking. So, like you, my own journey had been a very interesting roller coaster. But that's where we grow.
Yes. Yes. All the growth is in the valley. It's not when we're on the mountain peak. There's so much glory in the
My
valley.
God. This is what, if I could see the Mastering Life, my
I
book,
love it. I
uh,
love it.
the image of the, oh, okay, I'm trying to image of the
Wait, you disappeared.
it is-
Wait, okay. Wait,
so
you're gone.
this image of stock image of Himalayas. It's not a fascinating image. Everyone has seen it. The idea of it is when we are at the peak and we want to go to a peak, it all looks beautiful, shiny. You achieved a goal, you're at the top of that goal. And then to get to the next peak, you have dark valleys
Yes.
and
Yes.
shadows.
Yes. Yes. And I'm telling you, it wasn't until I was older that I realized, you can't connect the dots going forward. You can only connect them going backwards. All the glories in the valley. Like I never would have said back when I was going for chemo treatments with the cancer or going through the divorce, with my ex, I never would have thought that they were going to turn out to be blessings when I was going through them, you
Yeah.
know. But they were. They
Uh,
were.
Blessing is in hindsight. It's a blessing
Yeah.
in disguise. The word comes in as a blessing in disguise. Um, However, most people would agree that any kind of a tragic event takes you at a new height,
Totally.
right?
I
So,
I I wish um and everybody does this. Nobody gets to 18 unscathed, but the personal growth that happens when you're going through pain, and suffering, the personal growth on the other side of that, if you allow it to grow you, as opposed to staying in victimhood, because victimhood will never serve anybody. But when like you, Ritu, obviously you allowed the pain to grow you. You're such an incredible woman, so accomplished
Yeah.
and making the world a better place, like mastering life, like that's you, that's you, and when people can like master themselves, like have self-mastery, then life gets to be fun.
I want to share something really quickly that when I did my workshops and things, and, I was growing as I was, going through my experiences, my traumas, tragedies, and life experiences to professional experiences altogether. And in my workshops, I'll ask people, if I give you a bookcase full of motivational books, would you be motivated? Some people would nod their head no, others would be silent. Answer is, of course, no. The books don't motivate us, even though they are written with a good intention. That comes from inside.
Yes. I don't like the word motivation at all. I like the word inspiration, like
So
to
for
inspire people, as opposed to motivation is temporary, inspiration is permanent. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
however we express that thought, that book written with well intention have maybe so much valuable knowledge to uplift someone. If I don't have the intention or inspiration to pick up that book, even open it, that book sitting there will not do anything.
Right.
The idea was to that it's everything begins with you. You talked about so many things, just the self-image, the gratitude, the fear, the self-doubt, and your um, whole journey of inspiring yourself, no matter how difficult circumstances are. And I'm sure listener out there, they have seen, if they haven't gone through a very critical time themselves, but they have known a friend, a colleague, a neighbor, a relative, somebody that they have um, gone through it. So we see that in our experiences, the life, how it plays out. So there's a lot of learning opportunities. So these conversations that we have, um, uh, and it never stopped you from being an entrepreneur, how your
Yeah,
journey was to become. You do not have to be in Ivy League school and come out of degrees to learn how to be entrepreneur. You learn through circumstances.
absolutely. And that usually makes for the best entrepreneurs. I
Yes.
always say it's like with going back to the pain and suffering, even with entrepreneurs, because you got to have thick skin to be an entrepreneur. The crushing that happens with the pain and suffering, it's like coal when you crush coal and then the diamond emerges,
Yes.
but the diamond can't emerge unless it's crushed, like the coal is crushed. So as we're going through life, personally or professionally, and I really do believe that everybody experiences something that they don't like. They experience contrast, of what they don't like. Nobody gets to 18. You know what I mean? So everybody life is life is a game. It really is the game of
It
life,
is. Yeah.
and if you learn how to play it and you understand universal law, because it is a thing, and more people are starting to talk about it, more people are waking up saying, oh yeah, I live in harmony with gravity. I'm not going to jump out the third story window and think it's, or the 10th story window and think it's going to end well, and we don't, with the law of electricity, we're not going to stick our finger in a socket, like just
Yeah.
there's certain universal laws that we live in harmony with. That there is the law of vibration. The
Oh,
we're
yeah.
all vibrating and we're giving off a certain frequency, right? So the law of attraction is secondary to the law of vibration. So based on how we're vibrating, the frequency we're giving off is what we're attracting to us, because like attracts like. The universal law of cause and effect, the universal law of reciprocity. Like there's
Yeah.
so many universal laws and I highly advise people to read into it, go to YouTube and play videos about it, because once you tap into that, then you have the instructions for the game of life. Because once you can live in harmony with universal law and it clicks for you and you get it, because we go from seeking, when people start with the personal development, we're seeking, and then we get to know, we go to knowing, because we're like, wow, that's a thing. Like me at 25, in the hospital bed, I was like, I couldn't get enough of the readings. This is before Rhonda from the beginning of the movie The Secret. Like I could not get enough of it in 1991. And so you go from seeking to knowing to understanding, because you can know it but not really understand it, right? You're like, how does that work? Then you understand it, and then you become it. You're in being of the universal law. So you're living in harmony. That's why they call it in flow. You're in harmony with universal law, not just physical universal law, but spiritual universal law. And it is a thing. So I want people to go to YouTube and look it up, and you'll thank me.
I thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you a little bit different question. You touched upon so many important things here. The YouTube. Now we have technology in the palm of our hands. Everyone has their personal device. So it's not the matter of searching for information. You don't even have to use your fingers, just say a few words and Siri will do it for you, or Alexa will do it for you. Back in 90s, before we had that type of this super highway of internet and all kind of stuff, we had to really search for information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Be intentional, be really looking for, go to libraries or newspapers and things. So now, fast forward, having that information with even the AI on our fingertips, the younger generation who has this information available to them, what would you suggest and guide them? That because life is life,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have anything to do with my generation, my mother's or grandmother's generation, or my child or a grandchild's generation. It is life is going to happen.
Right.
Younger generation, they're growing up. They're growing up in a very different and a chaotic world. It is chaotic. I'm not saying that for criticism, but it is, because if you look at it,
Yes.
Young parents have to be so vigilant about the cybersecurity and the cyber threats and cyberbullying, raising their kids, which my mother have never thought of it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
The challenges are different.
Yeah.
So let's come back to the younger generation and having the information, misinformation, or overload of information. How do they settle themselves?
I would say, now what age are we talking about? Like young adults?
Say 20 something.
Okay. Yeah. I would say don't let the world program you. With the phone, with the the video games, they're so graphic and they're so violent, the movies, the TV shows, the music, like be really careful and choose your time wisely. One of the biggest things I would like to say to them also is forget time management. Time management is a trillion-dollar industry, and nobody can manage time. Like you could have the best quote unquote time management skills, and your meetings will run exactly 30 minutes, and but you could be doing stuff that's not moving you forward in the perfect amount of time, but it's not getting it anywhere, like the rocking chair, right? So time block in your phone. You want to use your phone. You don't want your phone using you, so utilize your phone wisely and time block what it is that you want to do. Write down goals that you want for your life. So important. And going back to vision, a lot of young adults, they don't know what they want, understandably. And this is a crazy mixed up world these days, especially after the pandemic. There's so much going on right now, and the kids to try to figure out what's right, what's not, what's normal, what's not normal. I always say go within, no matter what, close your eyes, tune out the world. When you close your eyes, it shuts down a lot. And just ask yourself, what is it that I want? What is it that I want to do? what is my purpose, and let it come to you, just shut off the noise in the mind and quiet the mind, get out of the head and get into the heart and let it come to you. So with regards to the AI and the TV and the movies and the music and everything else, just be very selective about what you allow yourself to digest, because I know I wouldn't open up my front door and allow the garbage truck to dump all their garbage in my living room. Why would anybody want to open up their mind and allow all that garbage to go into their mind? When you could be a conscious creator. And listen, I'm not about toxic positivity, because that's a thing. Toxic positivity is denial, and that's not a good thing. But empowering thoughts, not just positive, but empowering thoughts versus disempowering thoughts, empowering video games, where you're going to learn something, empowering TV shows, empowering music, things that will lift your spirit. Music lifts your spirit when you're listening to the right stuff, So that's what I would say for the young adults. Biggest thing would be write down your goals, even if they're small, so start, as long as you start somewhere, write down your goals, prioritize, then time block to make those goals a reality.
Important.
Yeah, oh
Yeah.
my God, so important. I was listening to a book and I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, The Millionaire something or other. It was about a 20-year-old that became a millionaire. I have it in my phone. I'm going to look it up for every 20 something that's watching. I love Audible. The Millionaire Fast Lane by
Hmm.
MJ DeMarco.
I heard that.
Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ
I
DeMarco.
didn't listen to it, but I heard about that book. Yes.
Yeah. He was 20 years old and became a multimillionaire because when he was a teenager, he saw somebody driving a Lamborghini. He wants a Lamborghini, and he just knew, he researched and read all the books, on how to make it happen. And he had a lot of failures. Failures are just lessons. It's win or learn. It's not win or lose unless you quit. Never quit. Be persistent because you'll always get out ahead of it. But yeah, so he became a multimillionaire at the age of 20. You can do, be, and have anything that you want in life. You literally are a conscious creator. That's what you're wired to do. And most people are just creating by default. They're not conscious creators because they don't have a vision for their life. Go ahead.
You use the word conscious creator quite a bit. I am very intrigued. I would like to ask you, young parents today, they're juggling a lot, right? The cost of living, providing their kids the best, the ballet lessons to soccer games, to jobs, to social appearances, and all of that they have to do. There's a lot of juggling. Parents do. Sometimes they're doing with their best interest to give kids everything that they think the kids should have because they didn't have. What would you advise those parents?
Help your children build character. If you're just giving them everything that they want constantly, I really feel that as parents, then we set our kids up for failure out in the real world, because nothing comes that easily. Some things come easy, some things don't. And usually the really good things that you want takes a lot of work, and work doesn't have to be hard. It could be that you love doing what you do, so it's not really like work. But I would say don't put on your kids, don't live vicariously through your kids, number one. That's just awful. The guy that wanted to be the goalie for the lacrosse team, or that was the captain of the lacrosse team, goalie, whatever, and then he forces his kid to be the goalie and the only goal. Like that's not good. That's not good. You got to allow kids to become the fullest potential that they came here to be, and we squash it a lot of times as parents because like the oak tree, all of the potential is in the acorn, and then a tree grows into its fullest potential. It doesn't stop halfway and go, I'm not as big as that tree next to me, or I think I have too many leaves on this side, or because a lot of times kids want to make their parents proud or want to make them happy, and they think they have to conform to meet the needs of the parents and the grandparents and society and the teachers. And so children are constantly conforming. And so for parents, just allow space for your child to grow into his or her fullest potential. And we're there to guide. We're there to guide them. They're not our property, they're our children. They come to us and through us, and you know, and they're here with their own journey, and they have to have pain and suffering in their life for them to grow. And the soul constantly calls for expansion. So if you don't give them space to grow or let them fall and scrape a knee, and like, then yeah, you want to give them space.
You want to give them space. Definitely. They are not here to live our dream. They are here to live their dream. So very good
Yeah.
advice. Yes. Um, you have a gift for our audience. So we'll share that on our how to contact you and on the um, website. And anything else you would like to have parting words with our audience?
Yes, and thank you for sharing the gift. It's an assessment that I have, and I want people to have fun with it. Like, don't overthink it. People overthink and overplan. Don't do that. Have fun with it. But it's 10 of the top 10 areas personally and professionally that over 30 years that I've learned are, once you have those in line, then your life is on track. And you can't have your life on track personally, but professionally it's not doing well, and vice versa. That's not life on track. So the assessment will give you like where you're at today, right? Like an honest assessment on a scale of 1 to 10, rate yourself, and then write a short-term goal next to or in the box, because it's digital, in the box. And so this way, you know where you're at, you know where you want to go, you have an idea of what you want to accomplish. And then I'll get on the phone with you and teach you how to do this. We'll have one complimentary coaching call, go over your assessment, and I'll give you ideas on how you can implement that into your life. So thank you for sharing that, Ritu. And my parting words are a quote that I made up in the hospital bed in 1991. And I live by this quote. It's my own quote all the time. Celebrate life, and you'll have a life worth celebrating.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is very true. Celebrate life. And life will celebrate you. We cannot really um, take anything away from it. Life as is beautiful.
Right.
If I may, I want to just share with you. I'm techie by profession. I call myself a runaway filmmaker, techie runaway filmmaker. And my documentary series on gender-based violence, it was very gender neutral though. So I named, and it's like won many awards, as you can see here on my background. And then my mentor, I never went to any film school or learn about filming, but um, somehow I found good mentors and I had a vision. And the name of my organization is Lead My Way. There's a whole lot of long story that I do not want to bore you or my audience, but Lead My Way had a very important significance in my life that in my very traumatic moments, that I will pray and I would say, Lord, lead my way. That's how it came about. So I named my organization foundation Lead My Way. And the logo of the Lead My Way,
Beautiful.
if I may share, uh, as you
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
butterfly, black and white. So
Beautiful.
it was so impromptu. I didn't plan to share or talk about it. The black and white uh, butterfly, we know it's a sign of transformation. But when people are going through a very traumatic or very um, unhappy stages of their life, even though there are a lot of colors, there's so much happiness. They only see black and white.
Right. Right.
They stop seeing the color in life.
Yeah, that's
So
beautiful. Yeah.
the loving and living in the present moment, that I had good mentors that I sought out, and not all those mentors were alive mentors, but I found that strength in spirituality and all of that, that I, even though was in a total dark valley, but I still saw a bud in a different
Mm.
color. That kept me going, kept me and brought me here where I am today.
Yeah.
So that's in our conversation, that my parting message is also that, as you share, that never doubt. There are things that's the self appearing of self doubt, not criticize yourself,
Right.
right? It would come, but you have to have that strength to overcome that doubt. It will come. The negativity will come. Word would throw it at you, but
Right.
you have to find that strength that comes from inside. Like I said earlier, a book rack of motivational, inspirational book doesn't inspire anyone. It comes from inside. It could be a one single thought, a line of music, a sentence like celebrate life and life would celebrate you. It could be something that a listener who are listening and would resonate with it.
Mm.
Powerful. It is really so powerful that sometime a little spark, a little bud of a color can shine up your whole day and change your mindset about things. So I appreciate you sharing your life story and
Aw.
some wonderful things here with our audience. And I'm sure there will be more conversation in the future. So for now, I think we're running out of time, and I so admire you, Erin. And for our
Likewise.
please go to get benefit from Erin's gift, and the information is on our banner here. And thank you. And I'm host Ritu Chopra. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope that information our guest has shared is helpful and you are taking away valuable tips and knowledge. We are committed to supporting women and building cause-driven businesses that create positive impact in their communities. Join us in the movement for change. Take action now and be part of Let's Come Together movement. Together, we can recognize, celebrate, and empower women who are making a difference in today's economy. Connect with passionate and powerful women, collaborate on cause-driven businesses, and build a better future for our